NASCAR remains the most popular motorsports league in the United States, with an expanding schedule of races, plans to expand into Canada and/or Mexico, and a $1 billion-a-year media rights deal. Despite the positive emotions in the stock car league, there are rumblings of unhappiness among some of the teams, particularly around NASCAR charters. The exclusive negotiation window for renewing the charter ended in January, and the original charter deal will expire at the end of this year. NASCAR may then modify the program at any time, and teams can depart for new tracks as they see fit. And even now in August, there is still no deal, and charter owners are losing their patience. Are we going to see some teams and drivers leaving the sport soon? So what is going on, and how will they fix this in the upcoming months? And could we see some Xfinity teams move up to Cup, like for example Dale Jr. with JR Motorsports? First up, how were these charters distributed? When charters were introduced in 2016, NASCAR stated that they were intended to reward teams for racing on a regular basis. To establish this, they stated that they examined team membership and performance over the previous 3 years and distributed 36 charters to the 36 teams they believed constituted a baseline level of commitment. This implies that non-charter holders will have 4 at-large berths in most events with 40 car fields. How much do charters cost? Nothing happened when NASCAR initially handed them out. Charters have increased in value as teams may now lease or sell them. Most recently, it was widely reported that the Spire paid $40 million for their charter before the 2023 season. That fee was almost quadruple the amount reported to have been paid by 23XI Racing for its charter in 2021. How much money do charters make? Officially, NASCAR will not comment. We do know that every charter team receives a compensation for each race it competes, and the payouts are uneven, with winners receiving the most, followed by smaller amounts according on how teams complete each race. According to many press reports, a charter generates around $8 to $9 million in annual income. Despite the $9 million per charter payout, it is usually seen as insufficient to meet teams' running expenditures. Teams think that charter revenue still requires them to find sponsors to break even. According to rough estimates, running a single car costs $10 million each year, or as Hamlin recently stated, $18 million. Furthermore, teams believe NASCAR has signed a new media rights contract beginning in 2025 that is far more lucrative than the present one. The new agreement will pay NASCAR $1.1 billion per year on average through 2031, which is approximately 34% more than the $820 million arrangement the circuit enjoyed the previous decade. Teams want to get paid more because NASCAR will earn more. The conflict, as in other sports, stems from the age-old fight for money between NASCAR's owners and its players, the NASCAR teams. Because NASCAR is privately held, no one outside the France family knows how much money it makes each year. According to S&P Ratings' 2024 bond rating note on NASCAR debt, the company earns about $140 million in free cash flow per year, excluding the France family-owned racetracks, an accounting method that may be a close representation of NASCAR's profitability, but not always. Despite the fact that NASCAR will generate around $1.8 billion in total revenue in the future years, S&P states that the league's revenues are modest and primarily reliant on consumer discretionary money for items such as ticket purchases. So, what's going on now? NASCAR believes that teams do not see all of the costs associated with owning and maintaining racetracks, and that the split, when combined with the prize money awarded for each race, is appropriate. NASCAR also wants to keep the option to revoke team charters if they continually deliver poor racers and do not appear to be investing enough to improve. The league also wants the ability to remove or modify the charter system as needed in the future. Is the charter dispute a sign of trouble for NASCAR, and what are the most recent updates? Last year, team owners expressed their discontent by failing to attend a NASCAR-arranged meeting to discuss charters. However, the charter fight is over money in a league that appears to be producing more money than ever, therefore most likely not. NASCAR, for its part, has been loud about wanting and needing teams to generate more money and cut expenses while remaining competitive up and down the field. The league credits cost limitations like the more uniform next-gen vehicle with cutting expenses, and claims the charter system has rewarded clubs for their constant efforts. According to public statements, NASCAR is unlikely to remove the charter system anytime soon. If we're going to optimize the growth of this sport, we need to continue to do that in 24, 25, and beyond, NASCAR President Steve Phelps said in his November State of the Sport speech. We've acknowledged that we want to change the paradigm for our race teams, and we need to make sure our race teams are profitable, competing on the racetracks. We are interested in having their enterprise value climb. All this charter talk and rising revenues also brings other parties to NASCAR, which could further complicate things. Private equity firms and sports funds have been circling NASCAR in recent months, seeking for potential investments, fueled by momentum in sports overall, racing especially, and the comparatively low cost of team charters. Trackhouse Entertainment Group became the latest team to embrace private money last month when it announced a deal with former Milwaukee Bucks co-owner Mark Lasry's Avenue Sports Fund, which purchased a significant minority stake in the organization. Other businesses are thought to be in the mix, and NASCAR has suggested guidelines for its next governing agreement regarding private equity interests. It doesn't take long for people to focus on a sector that's making money, whether it's building AI data centers or its sports franchises, said Rob Kaufman, chairman of the Race Team Alliance and a co-founder of the Fortress Investment Group alongside Milwaukee Bucks co-owner Wes Edens. There are two things that are happening at the same time. There's been a big growth in the financialization of sports and the maturing of it as a business. So now, more people are looking around at what stones haven't already been turned over. And motor racing has had a relatively modest amount of that activity historically. In 2016, NASCAR established a charter concept aimed at providing teams with something that may generate enterprise value. Teams are independent contractors and do not hold any equity in the league. There are 36 charters, which guarantee starting positions and income streams for each race, and team owners who possess them can sell them when they leave the sport. These assured aspects, along with NASCAR's new 7-year broadcast rights deals worth $7.7 billion, boosted the market for outside investment. Other pro sports team owners are now looking at NASCAR, as team values are still very low, especially compared to other sports. Andrew Merstein, the former majority owner of Richard Petty Motorsports, said, "Savvy investors like Mark Lasry have sold their interests in the NBA and have invested in NASCAR as they feel it has a lot more upside." Private equity companies' exploration has industry insiders wondering whether they might persuade Dale Earnhardt Jr. to take his JR Motorsports team to NASCAR's Elite Cup Series if they pay the charter fee. JR Motorsports now competes only in NASCAR's minor Xfinity Series. According to insiders, the Steinbrenner family has been considering investing in NASCAR. George Michael Steinbrenner IV and Julia Steinbrenner, the offspring of late New York Yankees co-owner Hank Steinbrenner, have invested in Andretti Autosport's IndyCar team. Industry insiders are keeping an eye on Andretti, which is substantially financed by Dan Taurus, the former CEO of a subsidiary Guggenheim Partners. CEO Dan Taurus may enter NASCAR. Gainbridge, owned by Taurus, is already associated with NASCAR team owner Spire Motorsports, raising the possibility of Andretti and Spire collaborating in the future. In addition to the Trackhouse contract announced, Joe Gibbs Racing signed a similar agreement with Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, which is also affiliated with Arctos Partners, last year. Fenway Sports Group also co-owns Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. In addition to the capital injection, private equity investments and other outside investments can provide operational and strategic skills from people with more business experience. NASCAR is drafting a new charter agreement with teams, and drafts include regulations for private equity investments, demonstrating the sector's activity. The criteria might include a ban on sovereign wealth funds in NASCAR, a limit proportion that a fund can acquire, and wording specifying who can be the major governing partner, or control person. The proposed restriction on sovereign wealth funds was not previously publicized. NASCAR declined to comment, but a source familiar with the sanctioning body's thinking warned that charter discussions are still ongoing and flexible, so plans may change. NASCAR proposes a 7-year extension of the charter agreement, with a 7-year option. Teams expected the charters to be permanent, or at least have a longer guaranteed life, and some fear the lack of a longer tenure could discourage investment. Charters have sold for up to over $40 million in a single transaction in 2023, when Spire Motorsports acquired one from the now-defunct Live Fast Motorsports. Front Row Motorsports has agreed to purchase one from Stewart Haas Racing for between $20 and $25 million this year. That was because SJAR reduced the price of charters by placing 4 on the market at once, while a couple of other teams indicated they could be willing to sell one. What do you think? Could someone like Dale Jr. enter the Cup Series if an agreement is reached soon? And will the team eventually be happy with any agreement? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.